Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Riley. I'm the Public Engagement Information Manager for the Victor Valley Union High School District, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our live town hall. Tonight, we are going to be talking about the Office of Civil Rights complaint against the district and answering your questions regarding that. So the first thing I'm going to do is introduce our panel. I'm going to start with our superintendent, Mr. Carl Coles. How you doing?
Good, thank you, Chris.
Right. And let's bring in our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services. That's Dr. Ramoni Yee. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome, everyone.
Thanks for being with us. And our Director of Student Services, Mr. Michael Williford. How you doing, Mike?
I'm good. Thank you, Chris.
And we have a special guest with us for our Spanish-speaking folks out there, Ms. Mari Mercado. And she has a message out there for some folks who might have questions in Spanish. Go ahead.
Sí, gracias. Buenas tardes. Soy Mari Mercado. Soy la intérprete traductora del Distrito Escolar. Estoy aquí para interpretar o traducir cualquier pregunta o comentario que puedan tener. Estoy aquí para ayudarles. Gracias.
Okay, muchísimas gracias. Y buenas tardes, Mari. So thank you very much. Let's get on to our presentation. Let's get down to business. So we're going to be talking about the OCR complaint and some just different things regarding intervention and due process in our district. And I'm going to bring that presentation up on the screen here. And Mr. Michael Williford is going to take it from there.
Thank you very much, Chris. And again, just thank you, community, for being here this evening to our second discussion on the Office of Civil Rights complaint against our district and the systems we're putting in place, of course, to make sure that those things never happen again in our district, as well as the interventions and due process components. So everybody's aware of how we are moving forward to make sure that we have equity and inclusion for all of our kids in our district. So next slide, please. So the things we hope you walk away from today from our training is, first off, we're going to go over our district commitment on keeping students in school and finding supports for students. Then we're going to be discussing the interventions that we currently have in place that are both site-based and district-based. Then we're going to be reviewing resources available that are also at the site level and at the district level. And then what those steps are within the due process system. The contacts you can have are if you have questions at the site level and the district level regarding our interventions and our consequences or due process components, I should say. And then, of course, we always want, what's very important for us is questions, suggestions, and parent feedback are always important. So next slide, please. So this is our commitment from the governing board, of course, and the district office and to all of our school sites. So this is our commitment. The governing board of district desires to provide all students access to educational opportunities and orderly school environment to provide their safety and security, ensures their welfare and well-being, and promotes their learning and development. The district will continue to review all current practices to ensure that all students will receive due process in the Victor Valley Union High School District. Intervention and disciplinary practices will look to have reduced amount of exclusionary practices unless it is predetermined by California Ed Code. Improving student behavior outcomes is about ensuring all students have access to the most effective and accurately implemented behavior systems and interventions possible. VVUHSD will continue to integrate MTSS strategies and interventions into the progressive discipline continuum to facilitate and incorporate for interventions and restorative practices as opposed to punitive practices while utilizing data-based decision-making. The governing board and district look to continue collaboration with our students, parents, and community to build the best practices to support every student in the Victor Valley Union High School District. Next slide.
Mike,
Yes.
if I can jump in real fast here. Maria Hubie says, can we share this? If you're talking about the actual Facebook video, it should be shareable. And then, of course, also, if you're watching on YouTube, you could send this link to anyone and they can view it. So I believe that's what you're asking, is if you can share it on Facebook. You should be able to. If you have any other issues with that, Maria, you can let me know in the comments. Okay, moving on.
All right, so our next slide we have on here is the intervention pieces that we put in place. They could be school level or they could be, of course, at the site, at the district level. So some of the interventions here, of course, we have our SST process and 504 and IEP systems. We have developed and revised our positive behavior and intervention programs and contracts. We have done check-in, check-out processes. We have referrals now for substance abuse intervention. We have probation intervention classes. We have conflict resolution. We have referrals to counselors. We have change of class opportunities. We've got conferences with students, relationship development actions, restorative conferencing, conferences with SRO probation. Establishing positive relationships with our students is another big thing we've been working on this school year. Teaching behavioral expectations, pre-correction and redirection. Establishing buddy teacher systems. Daily progress report for behaviors is needed. Increasing positive recognition for those students that might need it. Goal setting with students. Doing manifestation interpretations as required. Revising behavior support plans as needed. Revising positive behavior plans when needed. Using restorative justice reentry conferencing practices. Parent and guardian conferencing with our sites. On-campus intervention to help support with our behavior intervention components. Alternative education placement as needed. Referral for SSTs if needed. Again, I think there's actually a duplicate on probation classes. And then our last one is mental health clinician referrals and classes. So these are all the interventions we're trying to put in place this school year to keep kids on campus and in classes so they can receive their academics and progress towards high school diplomas. Next slide, please. So what's happening, of course, now at the site level, some resources are available and programs are available at the site level. So currently at Adelanto High School, they are running our heritage program for African-American students, so we can help support the students to get to the A through G requirements to be ready for secondary education. Mental health clinicians are all of our school sites. We have the Give Back program, which is for our currently at Victor Valley High School and Silverado High School have that program, but we're looking to expand that to all schools by the end of the school year. We have Young Visionaries, which is a mentoring program that's at all school sites. All school sites, of course, has counselors. We have the Amazing Grace program, which is a mental health support program during lunchtime at Lakeview Leadership Academy. We currently have the Rescue Generation program going on at Hook Junior High School and Victor Valley High School. We have Capturing Kids' Hearts, which is also working right now at Hook Junior High School and Lakeview Leadership Academy. We have ERMS counseling, which is a special counseling through IEPs that's available at all school sites. We have our probation classes that's also available at all school sites for, again, drug awareness, for anger management, coping skills, those components through our probation department. We have family engagement liaisons at all school sites for parents to come in and be connected to some of these resources, as well as other resources within the community. We have Daybreak Health Program, which is offering monthly mental health classes virtually for all of our families in the district at all school sites. And we also have Care Solace, which is a connection program also for mental health services within our district. At the district level, we have bus passes available for families that may need it. We have the Family Assistance Program that we partner with for families that may need special assistance with either homelessness, food, or housing. We have family computers that are available. We have a district counselor to help support our at-risk students. We have district translators that are available to help anybody to our Spanish-speaking families, especially for translation. We have alternative school assignments that could be helpful and supportive if families need it. We have backpacks, school supplies. We have access to county programs such as housing vouchers and food. We also have mental health workshops that are provided monthly, and we also have a district book club. Next slide, please. So with that, the next component, of course, is our due process component. So we want to make sure there's two basic principles regarding when any student receives, of course, consequences or starts to receive any kind of possible consequence in our district. There's a due process system that should be done at the school site level as well as the district office level. So in the student context, due process involves these two basic principles. The student's parents, guardians are entitled to know the nature of the alleged misconduct or performance deficiencies, i.e. that are, for example, the ed code violation, as well as the student's parents and guardians should be given a reasonable opportunity to respond to those allegations before any decisions are being made regarding the imposition of discipline. So what that basically means, of course, and to summarize that, is if a student is being accused of any ed code violation, stealing, using profanity, there's multiple ed code violations or ed code policies in there. Whatever that might be, the parent needs to be made aware of what ed code violation the child has violated. And of course, the child has the right to respond to that before any consequences are given, to give their side of the story, basically. Next slide, please. So due process for non-suspendable events. So the first off, of course, there should be an informal conference, which means the suspension shall be preceded by an informal conference conducted by the superintendent, the principal or designee with the student, and whenever practicable, the teacher, supervisor, or school employee who referred the student to the principal. At this conference, the student shall be informed of the reason of the intervention or disciplinary action, including the other means of correction required pursuant to California Education Code 4900.5, and the evidence against the student should be given the opportunity to present the student's version and evidence, which is Education Code 48911. Administrative actions for this can all requests for student intervention discipline are to be processed by the principal or designee. A school employee shall report to the principal or guardian any intervention or discipline action the student receives. So if your child receives detention or after school detention or suspension or any action, a parent is required to be notified per the due process system. Next slide, please. Now, if there is a suspendable offense, this is the processes that should be followed. First off, of course, there should be, again, that same informal conference like we already talked about. I won't reread this. It's the same exact setting. Now, the second paragraph, though, is something new. The conference may be omitted if the superintendent, principal, or designee determines the emergency situation exists involving a clear and present danger to the lives and safety or health of students or school personnel. If a student is suspended without this conference, both the parent, guardian, and the student shall be notified of the student's right to return to school for the purpose of the conference, and the conference shall be held within 2 days unless the student waives that right to it or physically is unable to for any reason. And in such a case, the conference shall be held as soon as the student is physically able to return to school. So, for example, let's say, that something happened to the school site. Don't want to go into the weeds too much on this, but again, the student just needs to be removed from the campus for some reason, because of safety, because of emergency, because of health. So if that due process conference does not happen, we need to hold that conference within 2 days after that student can then potentially come back to make sure that that student has been given their due process rights. Now, the second component, again, is like the last one. All requests of student suspension are to be processed by the principal or designee. A school employee shall report the suspension, including the name of the student and the cause of the suspension, to the superintendent or designee. Next slide, please. Also, within that suspension component, there should be a notice that goes home to parents or guardians. At the time of the suspension, a school employee shall make a reasonable effort to contact the parent guardian by telephone or in person whenever a student is suspended. The parent or guardian shall also be notified in writing of the suspension. Again, that's per California Ed Code 48911. The notice shall state the specific offense committed by the student. Education Code 48900.8. In addition, the notice may state the date and time when the student may return to school. So if a child is suspended for whatever reason, they should have on there the exact ed code of why they're being suspended, as well as the date they can return to school and the time. The number 4 in our due process component, a parent guardian conference. Whenever a student is suspended, school officials may request a meeting with the parent or guardian to discuss the cause and duration of the suspension, the school policy involved, or any other pertinent matter. In school, if a school official requests to meet with a parent or guardian, the notice may state the law requires the parent or guardian to respond to such requests without delay. However, no penalties can be imposed on the student for the failure of a parent or guardian to attend such a conference. The student may not be denied reinstatement solely because the parent or guardian failed to attend the conference. So within this statement here under Ed Code 4911, if a parent is unable to attend the suspension conference, again, we are not supposed to hold the student liable for that. That is not the student's fault of the parent not attending. And again, once that suspension has been ended, the student should be then allowed back onto campus and back to classes. Next slide, please.
Okay, and before we move on, Michael, really quickly here, Paola had a comment here. I know this presentation is in English. Is it possible we can have a version of this translated into Spanish, and we can share that somewhere, like on the website? Is that something we could do maybe in the next
so
few
what
days?
let Paola know that we'll go ahead, and then once we're done, I'll have our translator do both. Actually, the last town hall meeting and this one's slide deck will be done in Spanish, and then we will post them on our main webpage.
Awesome. And can you let the folks know in Spanish for us, Mari, please?
Yes, of course. Sí, queremos avisarles por la pregunta que preguntó Paola Cano, si vamos a traducir en español. Queremos avisarles que sí se va a traducir toda la presentación para ustedes y después se les va a presentar. So, sí vamos a hacer eso. Muchas gracias.
Okay, and then also maybe you mentioned it, but let's just remind them that Paula and others, if they do have questions in Spanish, we can answer those in Spanish tonight.
Sí, definitivamente. También les queremos avisar de nuevo que si tienen cualquier pregunta esta tarde, nos lo hagan saber por el chat y nosotros lo traducimos y se los contestamos. So, si tienen cualquier pregunta en español, por favor, háganoslo saber. Gracias.
Thank you, Mari. Okay, you ready for the next slide, Michael? Okay, you're muted.
Okay, are you guys? So our next steps then is due process for suspendable offenses that may be turned into an expellable event. So again, all the steps we already mentioned regarding the suspendable event. So those previous slides would all be in play first. And then if it needs to go to expulsion because of the certain ed code violation, there'll be an extension of suspension. If the board is considering the expulsion of a suspended student from any school or suspension of a student for the balance of the semester from continuation school, superintendent or designee may in writing extend the suspension until such a time that the board has made a decision, provided the following requirements are followed. The extension of the original period of suspension is preceded by a notice of such extension with an offer to hold a conference concerning the extension, giving the student an opportunity to be heard. The conference may be held in conjunction with a meeting requested by the student or parent guardian to challenge the original suspension. The superintendent or designee determines following a meeting in which the student and the student's parent or guardian were invited to participate, the student's presence at the school or alternative school would be endanger persons or property or threaten to disrupt the instructional process. If the student involved is a foster youth, the superintendent or designee shall notify the district liaison or foster youth of the need to invite the student's attorney and representative of appropriate county child welfare agency to attend the meeting. If the student involved is a homeless child or youth, the superintendent or designee shall notify the district liaison for homeless students. In lieu of or in addition to suspending a student, the superintendent, principal, or designee may provide services to require the student to participate in an alternative disciplinary program designed to correct behavior and keep the student in school. So those are the step components to make sure that, on extension suspension is done. And what that basically means is this: per ed code, you can only suspend up to 5 days. That's the maximum you can suspend a student for an event. However, though, if the event is so severe or violates an ed code that is so severe, an extension may be put in place because the next part of the due process could be a possible hearing where the child and the family then can present their case to a panel of individuals who don't know the student to decide whether or not the student should be expelled or not. I believe that's on the next slide here. So next slide, please.
Okay.
So conducting a due process conference at the school site, only the principal, just be aware, only the principal can recommend a student for expulsion. Expulsion recommendation must be preceded by a due process conference at the school site. A due process conference must be provided to the parent. When possible, notification should occur at least 1 day prior to the conference. Due process conferences may be held without parents. Non-attendance should be noted in the written notices and materials included in the expulsion packet. The parent may invite any person with relevant information to the due process conference. Tape recording the conference is permissible. If the parent tape records a conference, the administrator should obtain a tape recorder and make a recording also. Although written minutes from the due process conference are not necessary, oftentimes notes are useful, especially when the case precedes an expulsion hearing. Suspension shall be preceded by an informal conference conducted by the principal or the principal's designees or the superintendent of schools between the pupil and whoever is practicable, the teacher, supervisor, or school employee who referred the pupil to the principal, the principal's designee, or the superintendent of schools. At the conference, the pupil shall be informed of the reason of the disciplinary action, the evidence against him or her, and shall be given the opportunity to present their own case. The conference shall be held within 2 school days. Unless the pupil waives the right or is physically unable to attend, any reason for including, but not limited to, incarceration or hospitalization. The conference shall then be held as soon as the pupil is physically able to return to school for conference. The due process conference is as follows. Introduce everyone, cite the reason for the due process conference, cite the charges and education code that are being brought forward, provide an opportunity for the student and parent to respond and state any additional information, ask any relevant clarifying questions, ask the student and parents for any comments, inform them of inform them administration team is recommending for expulsion, describe for them that the hearing would be like, tell them about the hearing procedures, and inform them of the due process meeting with student services. Next slide, please. When the due process comes up to student services, these are the following steps. We will review the case with a student school site to ensure other means of correction were applied. We'll review with the school site if the student's presence is a danger to the campus. If the review is no to either scenario, student is returned to the site with a support plan. Review with the family their due process rights. And this is, again, after we've gone through those first steps. Now the family has come to the student services department, and these will be the steps that you'll be meeting with. Review with the family their due process rights. If due process was not followed, the student is returned to their school site with a support plan. Inform the parent of their options moving forward. Per ed code, the student has the right to a hearing. The hearing will take place 10 days after the due process meeting. The student's suspension would be extended 10 days. The student has the right to all assignments during the suspension. The hearing is held with a panel of 3 certificated staff members. The panel makes a recommendation to the school board, and only the school board can expel a student from the district. Regarding a stipulated expulsion, this is where the parent waives the right to the hearing process. They review the rights being waived by the family. We work with the family on what supports would be needed. The stipulated agreement is sent to the school board. And again, only the school board can expel a student from the school district. Next slide, please. So those 5 slides we just went through would be basically going from the least or the smallest infraction offense, of course, to the most severe infraction offense, and those due process components for each of those. Now, if you have questions regarding the discipline at a school site level, this here are the principals of all of our school sites. So please feel free, and you want to leave this up briefly, Chris, so the parents, if they want to take pictures of it, so they know who their site principals are. So the site level, these are all the principals at the school site. If you have questions about any discipline practices or processes there, these will be the people to contact. And then on the other side of the page is the district level contacts for overall questions. Again, on here is my name, of course, Michael Williford, Director of Student Services. My number, the extension to my office, as well as my email address if you have ever have any questions about any discipline practices or processes. And if you have any Title IX questions, on here also is our Assistant Superintendent's information, Dr. Romero Rubacaba, and his email address or his assistant's email address if you have any Title IX questions regarding the discipline process. Next slide, please.
Okay.
I'd like to open up the forum now for our families and community. If there's any questions, concerns, suggestions, or for the floor, so we can hopefully answer those questions for you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Williford. And I'm going to take that down off of the screen there. We're all back. Hello. So I'm not seeing any questions in here. You do have an opportunity, and we will leave it open for a couple of minutes here. I know that was a lot to digest. So we will leave it open. And I know this is the second meeting we've had regarding this. So, you know, perhaps folks already had a chance to ask some questions last time, but if you didn't, please get in here and type your question in the chat, YouTube or Facebook, and we will answer it here in real time. Now, of course, in the event that you can't get your question in, or if you are just watching this pre-recorded and can't get us a live question, you can also email us, and I'm going to find the email address you can send this to. Go ahead and send this to me, and I will get it to the proper person, because it could be a site level question, could be a question from Mr. Williford, could be a question in Spanish that we can translate, anything like that. Just go ahead and send it to me, and you can put Live Town Hall in the subject line so I know that we're talking about this town hall. Maybe put Live Town Hall and the date. that would be helpful. But that's my email address right there, KREILLY@vvuhsd.org. Okay, so we do have a comment. Where do we send kids that need help with backpacks or school supplies? So Maria, I'm guessing is a staff member, perhaps, or maybe is working somewhere in the community and is encountering kids who need these kind of things. So, Michael, Ramoni, anything we want to say about that?
Well, actually, they can just come to my office. We actually carry school supplies and backpacks for any kids that need them in our district. We actually have a closet of them. So again, Maria, feel free to come to the district office, ask for the Student Services Department, and we'll set you up with the supplies that you need for your children.
Awesome. And the district office right here on Mojave Drive, basically right next door to Victor Valley High School. So we are here to serve you, and can be a bit confusing, the district office complex here, but if you go to the main building, which is the one closest to the corner of Mojave and Del Rey, we can point you in the right direction. Thank you, Maria, for your question. Okay, I'm not seeing anything else. I do want to give people a couple of minutes if they have questions, but why don't we just kind of start going around the round table here, and just if anyone else has anything to say in closing. So, Mr. Wilford, anything you want to say?
No, but the only thing I'd like to say is, again, first, just thank you, everyone, for your time this evening. And again, we're here to help serve, and we want to know what we need in the community. So your input, your resources, your support, whatever we can tap into out there, this is a collaboration effort. So we want to make sure, again, that we're addressing your needs and your students' needs. So please feel free to reach out so we can help work together to make our district, the best district in the high desert.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Janet Sanchez says, security in our schools, it's getting scarier to send our kids to school. Well, certainly we can identify with that. We're all parents, and, with the things that you see happening out there in the headlines nationally, we can certainly sympathize with that. And we've had a couple of things that have happened that fortunately did not result in anyone getting hurt or anything like that, but we have had a couple of scares that had to get investigated and turned out not to be any type of credible threat, thankfully, but we've had to investigate a couple of things. Are we looking into increasing security in our schools? Anyone want to take that one? Mr. Wilford, I know you've done some work with that. And Dr. Yee, did you want to talk about that at all?
Just that we actually did. Again, safety is a priority to our district. So we did actually increase our campus assistance and campus security at all of our sites. That was the first thing that we actually did. We're very proud of that effort. And it is making a difference, because the more adults that we have on campus to really focus on the safety of our students and our staff, the better. So we did increase more security for our campuses this year.
Yeah, so we've bumped up the numbers out there. I know we've done some new things in terms of our processes, and we're always trying to improve those processes. And I know, Mr. Wilford, you've done some things specifically with that as well. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about there?
The only thing we're doing, though, is we're also looking at putting together a security task force as well, built up of our community members and our security teams. So again, to start addressing some of those hotspots and other key elements that we might need support in. And then once we have that task force developed, of course, then working with, all the other agencies to see what we could do again to make our campuses even safer.
Yes. And, like I said, I mean, we're very thankful that, despite some things that have happened that were kind of scary from time to time, we've been able to respond to those things quickly and thoroughly. And we have a great partner in the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department and the Victorville Police Station, and they have helped us quite a bit. And we have our school resource officers, as well as just the general police force, has been able to help us out quite a bit. Now, does that come with training? I'm not sure what she's referring to there. Is that something you were?
Yes,
Go ahead.
actually, you know what? The person read my mind because along with having more campus security on our campuses, we absolutely have more training. Really training them on strategies to maybe de-escalate sometimes situation, kind of providing them tools that will support their work. Really focusing on the safety of our students. So we did 3 days of training right before school started. We actually even had a training during this October break that we just had last week. So campus security came in, got some more training. We feel that it's very important to really build their capacity so that we can support them in their work to support your children. So definitely ongoing and something we're doing a lot more of.
Thank you very much. Okay, so Ernestina is talking about translation. Now, there's a certain limitation, and Marty, if you can repeat this in Spanish for me, there is a certain limitation with the live stream platform of being able to translate every word. However, in the past, we have done some town halls that are completely in Spanish. That's something we could do possibly in the future. But also, I do want to reiterate that the information that we showed on the screen tonight regarding OCR will be available in Spanish on the website. If you can let them know that for us, Marty.
Sí, por supuesto que sí. Les queremos avisar que no podemos traducir todo por decir, tenemos un límite. Entonces, pero como les dijimos anteriormente, vamos a traducir toda la presentación que se dio en este día y se la vamos a tener lista para si la quieren ver, la necesitan, la vamos a tener disponible ya pronto. Pero aquí estamos para servirle. Cualquier pregunta que tengan en español, por favor, aquí estoy yo para servirles. Y si no lo pueden hacer las preguntas por chat, el señor Riley me avisa y nosotros lo traducimos. Así es que si tienes alguna pregunta, ahorita por favor, hazlo. Vamos, gracias.
Right, and also do want to remind them that they can send me questions to this email address. We will respond in Spanish, and we will have this presentation available up on the website.
También les queremos avisar que si tienen alguna pregunta, pueden mandar un correo electrónico al señor Riley y su correo electrónico está en la pantalla, es kriley@bbuhsd.org. So cualquier pregunta que tengan le pueden hacer saber a él por correo electrónico y él se encarga de contestárselas, ¿sí? Y de nuevo, esta presentación se las vamos a traducir totalmente y tenérselas preparadas. Gracias.
Thank you very much, Marty. So I do not see any more questions at this time. So we're going to just keep going around the table here like we started with Mr. Williford. Dr. Yee, is there anything you'd like to say in closing?
Just grateful. Thank you all for those of you who are tuning in to really listen and learn a little bit about kind of our processes. Your children is so important to us, and we want to make sure that we serve them well, and we do everything in our power to make sure that they are well taken care of. So it's going to be a journey, but it's a collaborative one. So please continue to share with us, provide us feedback, input, be part of some of our stakeholder groups that we are having, because again, it takes a village, and we appreciate you being here this evening. Thank you.
Okay, and Mr. Coles, anything you'd like to say in closing?
No, just that our process is, we'll continue to be transparent with the community with respect to OCR. I appreciate the work from Mr. Rutherford and Dr. Yee and all of their efforts. It really comes down to a collaborative effort to ensure that the campus that your child go to, that they're safe, that they're secure, and when things do happen, that we are extremely transparent about what is happening. So I appreciate the efforts, and our goal is to continue to get better each and every day. So thank you for those who tuned in today, and we appreciate the partnership.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, thank you to all of you. Thank you, Marty, for sticking around a little bit late today, and we appreciate everyone, and we appreciate you folks for watching this evening. Again, you can view this again at any time. And if you weren't able to get a question in, you are welcome to send me an email at that address. and we will get back to you and answer your question. So everybody, with that, we are going to end a little bit early because we have no more questions. Ernestina says, esto se trata, would you like to answer that, Marty?
Acerca de tu pregunta, Ernestina Torres, dices, ¿esto se trata de la educación de la escuela? Por supuesto que sí, tiene que ver mucho con la educación. Hablamos de la disciplina en este día y todas las leyes, pero como les dijimos, vamos a tener toda esa información que dimos ahora porque, como ven, fue demasiada información. Entonces, vamos a traducir todo aquello que se presentó en la pantalla ahora y se las vamos a tener listas para presentárselas a ustedes. Muchas gracias.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Maria, for watching and for your questions. All right, everybody, have a great night. Bye-bye.
Good night. Gracias. Que pasen buenas noches.